Lesson 1, Period of Transition. The period of transition, what do you mean by transition? Transition is a process of change. Change is known as transition. Period of transition meaning period of change, process of change. The 14th century marked the end of the Middle Ages. The history is divided into three ages. One is ancient age, middle age, and the modern age. The 14th century, it is the period of the end of medieval times or Middle Ages. And the people, those who lived in the Middle Ages, their life in the 14th century, especially in Europe. In the 14th century, people, those who lived in Europe, their life was very, very difficult. And why their life was very difficult? Because they were always engaged in wars. They were fighting with each other kingdoms. And also the peasants' revolts. Now and then the farmers, they used to revolt against their landlords or their owners. And the third one is Black Death. There were always now and then natural disasters like earthquake, floods, epidemics, diseases. With such type of difficulties, their life was very, very miserable, and as well as the life in the 14th century in Europe was very difficult because of these reasons. And now this 14th century, it had come to an end. And the old medieval time, in the medieval time, the 14th century, the Middle Ages was going to end. It was almost dying. And people always trying to seek something new. They wanted to see something new in their life. In the Middle Ages, in the 14th century and all, the people were dominated by the authority of the church. The people used to accept and believe whatever the church authorities says. They used to follow it without asking any questions to them, whether it is wrong or right. They have to listen to the church. Then in the 14th century, Italian scholars, European scholars began to take an interest in the writings of ancient Greeks and Romans. Transition from medieval to modern age. Transition from medieval to modern age. From the 14th century to 16th century in Europe was transformed by a flood of new ideas. What happened in the 14th and 16th century? Europe was fully transformed, changed by new ideas. The transformation began in Italy. In Europe, the first place where the transformation started is it is in Italy, and it included new ways of building a new style of art. What new ideas? It may be new ways of building a new style of art, new ways of living, and many other new ideas started in Europe. This period and the changes it brought are now known as Renaissance. The 14th century, whatever the changes brought in Europe from 14th century to 16th century, these changes, that period is known as Renaissance. Renaissance means rebirth. Rebirth means new ideas, taking a new ideas, new way of living. This is known as Renaissance or rebirth. The period saw great increase in trade and wealth also. 14th to 16th century, when the Renaissance started, their trade and their wealth also started to get increased. And next, what happened after the 14th century? Three events are often picked out as marking the end of the medieval period and the start of the modern age. What are the reasons why this Middle Ages or Middle Time, how it came to an end? What are the main reasons to get to start this modern age? The first reason is the fall of Constantinople in 1453, which ended the traces of the old Roman Empire, which ended the last traces of the old Roman Empire. Fall of Constantinople. This Constantinople was a second capital city of Roman Empire. Second in the at present, this Constantinople is known as Istanbul. In the 14th century or 1453, this place Constantinople, it was captured by Ottoman Turks. Ottoman Turks. This was a major cause or reason for the end of Middle Times in Europe. Second one, the development of printing in the 1450s. Printing press, what we are using now, the printing press machine started developed in the 14th century, 1450s, and because of this printing press, many books were printed and were available to anyone who could read it. Not only the nobles or rich people, earlier they used to read. Now, because of this printing press, many books were printed and it was easily available for a lower price, and anyone who can read it, they could read it. This was a major, another cause for the end of Middle Times in Europe. And third one, the first voyage of Christopher Columbus to Americas in 1492. 1492. First journey of Christopher Columbus, person who visited America in 1492, who discovered America. And because of all these three reasons, these are the main three reasons, and many other reasons why middle period in Europe started to end. Out of all these factors responsible for the Renaissance, the main one is the printing revolution. Second one we will see there, printing. The printing revolution, which played the most important role in transforming the world. How this printing press transformed the world? The first one is print popularized the ideas of the Enlightenment thinkers. Here, the printing press, the printing, when the people started to print the books were available, and scholars also started to take more interest in writing the old traditions and the present situation. The scholars collectively, their writings provided a critical commentary on the tradition, superstitions, and despotism. The thinkers or the scholars and philosophers, what we call, they got the chance to comment on the old traditions people followed in Europe, and they also sometimes commented what is wrong in Europe. And the second one is print created new culture of dialogue and debate. All values and norms and institutions were re-evaluated and discussed by public in Europe. Second one you see here, print created a new culture of dialogue and debate. In the Europe, whatever the church said, people used to follow. But now, after the end of Middle Age, now since books were available easily, people had a time to discuss the matters, had a conversation, dialogue, and also they used to have a debate on the particular matter. And third one, by the 1780s, there was an outpouring of literature that mocked the royalty and criticized their morality. These are the main reasons the printing press made end of this middle times in Europe.